ramp, cubit by a cubit, is called Babubia. And this was a storage. Those birds which had been validated for use as a sin offering. So since they were fresh, it was not proper that they should be burnt. So what they let them is placed in the form to decompose, at which then they were taken out later and they were burnt. So here we have the larger one. We don't have it, but here we have a picture of the little aperture that's there in the wall of the ramp. This is now number 15. Rambam 15, chapter 2. The western side of the ramp, there were two tables. One was marble. They would put the limbs on them that are later going to be brought on the altar. One was made of silver. They would place the sacrificial vessels on them, and they would be there. When a Kohen would need a vessel, he would go to that table and take the vessel. So here we also have a diagram. Here we have the diagram for the two tables. Were placed. See, have here the two tables, one of silver, one of marble, and we could pass this down if you want to.
So when we get the Beis HaMikdosh, is it just going to be the building, and we need to do like all the furnishing, or will it come fully furnished?
Fully furnished.
No, like because we furnished it for the first two, so I'm just wondering, would we also have the furniture, or does it come?
So we will see. Will they use the vessels from that Moshe Rabbeinu made, and they were placed in safekeeping? That's the question.
Like I just want to know: is this a fully furnished house?
Okay, you see the diagram of the two tables that are there. You could also see the Kohen going down the ramp, the small ramp.
The table of marble and what else?
One was of silver. So there were 93 vessels that were used on a daily basis. They were kept on that, they were taken out of storage, placed on that silver table. When a Kohen would need one of those vessels, he knew where the designated place was because it was on the table that was on the western side of the altar. Number 16 is, this is something that we discussed, and we will just go through it. When they built the altar, it was made of one solid block, and there were no empty cavities left at all. How were they done? They were done in molds. They brought whole stones, both large and small. Then they created a liquid of lime, pitch, molten lead, and poured it over the stones into the large mold according to its dimensions. We said it was built in 3 sections, and thus we must build it ascending level by level. They built first the base, and after that hardened, built the next section, which was the section that had the surrounding ledge, and then the upper section. So there were places that were left hollow, and there was also on the base, the base did not surround all 4 sides. So therefore, the Rambam tells us, this is the last page, you must place a block of wood or stone in the southeast corner of the structure, equal to the measure of the missing portion of the altar's base. So that is later, when it hardened, that was removed. Similarly, blocks must be placed in each corner until the building is completed. Then the blocks are removed from the structure, thus having the southeast corner without a base, and the horns are hollow. And the concluding, this is, and the next is In order to have a kosher altar, what are the details that are needed? So Abba Klanishal Mizbeach, it must have the four corners where you call them horns. They were a cubit by a cubit and hollow. Nothing was filled inside, but that is the way it was built. And then it must have a base, because that is the place where the blood is then placed. And also it had to be square. And if it was missing one of these three components, it is disqualified, because these four must be absolutely as a part of the Mizbeach. As long as you have a square, the length and the width, it was designated how high it should be and what are the dimensions. However, that is not absolute. In other words, when they were building a temporary Mizbeach, they could have built it with different dimensions as was later affixed the permanent one, provided that it's not less than a cubit by a cubit in area and 3 cubits high. That is the minimum of an altar. However, we learned that the base was 32 by 32, and it was 10 cubits tall, and it had the place where the Kohanim were able to walk around the altar on top. So all of this is as it was actually built.
Rabbi Baras, could I ask a question?
Yes.
The 10 amos, I was trying to research how tall, how in feet is 10 amos, 32 amos. I see that there's many different measurements, Reb Chaim Na, the Chazon Ish, the Moshe Feinstein. If I want to visualize the height and the height of the Mizbeach, the 58 tefachim or 10 amos, approximately how much would that be in feet? Or compared to a building like a house, like how could I visualize that?
Let's see. If we're going to it's approximately 2 feet an amma. A little less, 22 inches, but it's approximately 2 feet an amma. And we're speaking about 10. So it's about, what does that give us? Amma is, so it's 2 feet, 2 times 10.
So a little under 20 feet?
Yes. So it would be about as tall as the tallest menorah, which is about 35 feet. That gives you the the world's tallest. It cannot be more than 20 amats. So there's a limit of how tall it could be. So this was about 20. This we're speaking about in feet. So it's much shorter, because that's 20 amats. This is 10 amats. It's half. So it's about 15 feet, between 15 and 20 feet. It's like 2 stories. Most is 2 stories.
Like 2 stories tall. Okay, and then the 32 amas by the 32 amas. So if
close to 60 feet.
Around 60 feet. Okay. Okay. Now I know how to calculate. Okay, thank you.
Now we have the Mizbeach. So the Gemara tells us that Mizbeach itself brought a lot of blessings to Klal Yisrael. have in the Gemara in Ksubis 10b, you have the Gemara says what is the word, what is the mem of the Mizbeach? What does that signify? So the Gemara tells us the mem is Mazir Gzeres. If there were any decrees against Klal Yisrael, the sacrifice on the Mizbeach annulled them. Meizin, it brought sustenance. Mechavev, it brought love to Klal Yisrael. And Mechaper, it brought atonement. Then we have a medrash that goes through the words, each letter of the word Mizbeach. According to the Gemara, it's only speaking about the mem. Then we have Mizbeach is spelled mem zayin beis ches. So we have mem is mechaper, it brings atonement. Schus brings merit. Beis is for bracha. And ches is for chayim, life. So the Mizbeach, the sacrifice, they brought atonement, they brought merit, they brought blessings, and they brought life. So the sacrifice that was brought on the altar, that was an elevation for all of the world, the inanimate, the growing, the animal, and the human. In addition, we have when it came to the Chol Mechatos, when it came to the sacrifice for atonement, for forgiveness, so the Gemara tells us that we have different steps that it took to bring this atonement. First thing was, first not to bring the sacrifice and come to Yerushalayim, he had to come to the Beis HaMikdosh. That itself made him think, why is he coming? Next, he also had to place his hands, smicha, place his hands on the sacrifice and confess. And it had to be a very sincere confession because the Kohen would observe him to see if he's just saying lip service. He says, forgive me, however he was saying it. Then there was a Levi on standby. And the Levi would be the one to bring out, to elevate this person who was supposed to bring atonement by singing a special tune that was able to bring out the emotional feelings of a person to make him, I guess, feel very, very humbled. And the lady knew how to sing this, and he would sing it in full the kind of emotion that the objective was achieved because that person is now in a very receptive state. And then he would tell him, now confess. This time it was a sincere confession. Then the animal was slaughtered, or the blood was coming up the ramp, on the four corners, and then he brought the atonement. However, the atonement was not complete. There was a part of the sacrifice that was eaten by the Kohanim. Only when the Kohanim would eat that part of the sacrifice, only then was the atonement completed, which tells us the ability of a human being with an neshama, how high he's able to reach and elevate the carbon.
Essa que a gente comprou a churrasqueira, ela também é elétrica e a gás, não só gás?
So we have now chapter.
Why, how do you mute everyone?
Chapter.
Because some people want.
Chapter, which is.
There's only one person that needs to mute. Aline, Reza, oh, there she's muted.
Nora and the shulchan, the table, the showbread, and the kiyar, the basin. So let's please pass this down. Next section.
It's too small for me.
Chapter 3. The menorah is described in the Torah. And there were 4 goblets. Shnei kafterim, 2 bulbs, shnei prachim, and 2 flowers were in the shaft of the menorah. Shnema, menorah ba'gviyim, and the menorah there were 4 goblets, shikodim that were embossed, and kafterel prachel with its bulbs and its flowers. And at close to the base was also a 3rd flower. So the Rambam starts here with the center of the menorah. So let's look at the menorah. Okay, so the Rambam is expecting that everyone has learned Chumash, is familiar with the Psukim in the menorah. So here we have the menorah that we have here. It is a diagram of the Rambam's menorah. This is how he drew the menorah. And that is why we also have the goblets that are upside down, facing downward. Then we have the bulb. We can see it very distinctly because the arms of the menorah came out from these bulbs, or he calls them buttons. Then we have the flowers that are, should be a little, where the Rambam describes it, they should be folded out a little, like a flower. And here we have the base of the menorah, we have the center shaft, and then we have when I saw this, I made a comment that the next one has to be corrected. There's a major flaw in this picture. Do you see it? A major flaw in this diagram.
Straight branches.
This is the way the Rambam is. But when it comes to the top, all 7 places where the oil was placed, one was not taller than the other. It was not like a shamus for Hanukkah. They made it like the shamus of Hanukkah. It's supposed to be, all of them are supposed to be level. So I hope the next time they redo this, they'll make that correction. I think the Rambam, the diagram that we have in our, is correct. We have on the 2nd page, we have a diagram. I think we should look at the diagram on the 2nd page, and we'll go through the actual parts of the menorah. So we have the feet of the menorah. So the menorah had a base and it had 3 feet. Then you have B as the base. Then you have C as a flower. And the combined height of A, B, and C were 3 handbreadths. Then we go, that's number C, and then D, empty. E is a handbreadth in which contained a goblet, a bulb, and a flower. Then F is empty space. G is a bulb, a handbreadth, and then the 2 arms extended of number G. Then we have an empty handbreadth, and then I, a bulb, a handbreadth, and then extension of the 2 arms, then J, an empty handbreadth, K, a bulb, a handbreadth in size, then L is an empty handbreadth. Then we have M, 3 goblets, N is a bulb, O is a flower, and then we have combined height of M, N, and O with 3 handbreadths, and then you have P, which is the wick holders. And we're going to learn that the wicks faced the center. The center was the Neir HaMaravi, was the western wall, because that faced towards Kodesh HaKadoshim, toward the Holy of Holies, because the menorah was standing from north to south and facing west, and the wicks of the three went to the center, and the three on the right went to the center, the one on the left went to the center. So that's when they were all facing the center of the menorah. So now we'll see the Rambam inside. We see Beis number 2. It speaks about it had three legs. That's why the menorah that is depicted in the Ark of Titus is not a menorah of the Beis HaMikdosh. It certainly did not meet the requirements of how our sages described it. So it was made, the Ark of Titus was not made that generation. It was made the next generation. Did they have the one who was doing the sculpture? Did he have an actual menorah in front of him which he was sculpting, or was he doing it out of his, what he thought what a menorah was, or different menorahs that were brought to Rome? So it definitely is not the menorah of the Beis HaMikdash. So this is what the Rambam says. We described this in number 2. We've just described it. So we'll go on to number 3. So now the Rambam is making now an account of all of the different decorations that were on the menorah. Nimtzas, number 3. Kol hagavim, the sum total of the goblets were 22. Prochim, the flowers, were 9. Kaftorim, the bulbs, the buttons, were 11. And Chulam Akvan says that if one of these ornaments was missing, then it made it invalid. The sum total of the 22 plus 9 plus 11 equals 42. So if one of the 42 decorations was missing, so then the menorah could not be used for the service of the Beis HaMikdosh. In Dalet, it tells us, Medvar Ma'murim, when was this? Shasul Zohab, it was made out of gold. Avol Shamina Matachos, it was made of any other metal, and the Rambam told us in the first chapter that as long as it was made of metal, then it is a kosher menorah. It cannot be made of wood or glass or bone, but it could be made of any other metal. And if it was made of another metal, in Eisenbach, they did not make these decorations of the goblets and the bulbs and the flowers. Another difference with the menorah was made of gold or any other metal. If it became of gold, it had to be made of a talent of gold, a specific measurement of how much gold it is. And also another thing is, it was also formed from one block of gold that was hammered out. However, if it was made of other metals, then its weight was not a concern. If it was hollow, it would also be kosher. However, it was hammered out from one piece, then that is the requirement. And this was something that was a requirement of the menorah.
So, Rabbi, you're saying that only if it was made of other metals could it be hollow?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Rabbi Baras?
The numbers that we're speaking about has a special significance.
Rabbi Baras?
Yes.
Do we know how much kikar of gold, a holy kikar of gold would translate into pounds approximately or kilograms?
Approximately 150 pounds.
Wow. Okay. That's the weight of the menorah, approximately. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So, so we have the it's an interesting observation. Let me share it. we have the, going to follow. The menorah itself is the light. The mitzvah, the Torah, oil. The mitzvah is like a candle, and the Torah is light. So there's a special significance of what the menorah achieved, and the different components of the menorah are connected to different ways of helping Klal Yisrael. So let's look now at the Chamisha Chumshe Torah, the 5 Chumashim. The first pasuk in Bereshis are 7 words. What's the 7 and connected to the menorah? 7 places where to light the menorah. Then we have Shemos, has 11 words. What is the 11? What part of the menorah what was the number 11 in the menorah? Which ornament? 11? No. The bulbs were 11. So Shemos has 11 words. The Yikra, first pasuk, has 9 words. What are the 9 in the menorah? Those are the 9 are the flowers. 9 were the flowers. And then we have the Bamidbos has 17 words. That would be without the little feet of the menorah. The menorah itself was 18 handbreadths. And then we have Dvarim, we have 22 words. So here we have each sentence, the beginning of each Chumash has some connection to the menorah, which is the representing Torah.
What's the 17?
17, the 17 is the menorah itself with the feet would be 18. Actually, the menorah was 18 handbreadths, but 17 without the little feet and with the feet makes it 18. And 22 are the goblets, 22 goblets. So we have many midrashim where the significance of the menorah, how it's connected to Torah. So we have in Torah itself, we have the center, which is Torah Shebiksav, that is the Torah. And then we also have the 6 orders of the Mishnah, which incorporates Torah Shebal Peh, the oral law. So the menorah represents both the written and the oral Torah. The number 7 also represents, the Gemara tells us about the 7 shepherds that are leaders of Klal Yisrael, each one bringing out another aspect, another help to inspire the Jewish people. And they so each time the Kohen lit the menorah, Jewish people are divided into 7 categories of how they serve Hashem. What are their midos? You've learned that in the Chassidus about the 7 midos. Chesed, Gvul, Tiferes, that's what you say. So each arm that was lit up the hearts of and the minds of the ones who were a part of that. So those people of Chesed, when they lit the first one, all the people of Chesed sort of kept this. They didn't know why it was coming from, but they felt very inspired, very invigorated. And we find that there's a special connection to the menorah and the Torah, where we know about Devorah. And her husband was Lapidus. What was special about Lapidus?
Was it? Yeah, brought the vase. Around the waist.
That's correct. Lapidus is also, that was not really his name. His name was Baruch ben Abinayam, but he was called Lapidus because the Torah would make the wicks. He would deliver them to the Mishkan, and through that he became a great Talmid Chacham. So the merit that he was bringing the wicks to light the menorah, which is representing Torah. The Medrash tells us that the menorah itself also represents all of Klal Yisrael. So you have the base of the menorah is the Nasi, the president of the Sanhedrin. The center was the Av Bezdin, was the leader of the Sanhedrin. Then we have the arms, the goblets were the Chachamim, because they're the ones who taught. They did not keep the Torah for themselves, but whatever they learned, they shared with everyone else. That is why the goblets are upside down. Then you have the kaftar, the bowl. Those are the students. Then you have pchachim, the flowers. Those are the children in whose merit the whole world exists. That's what we've learned previously, that everyone is obligated to participate in the building of the Beis HaMikdosh, with the exception of the children and the teachers who are teaching them, because their occupation is such, it is keeping the world in existence. The menorah that we light, the Shabbos candles, that corresponds to the menorah of the Beis HaMikdosh. The Medrash tells us, if you will observe the candles of Shabbos, the Beis HaMikdosh, I will show you, you will merit to see the lights of the Beis HaMikdosh. So this corresponds, and the lights of the menorah, that incorporated also the light, which when the world was created, there was a special light with which Adam was able to see from one end of the world to the other. And what happened to the lights? So the lights became hidden in Torah. The Ar Tzadikim were able to know what's happening on one end of the world to the other by looking into the Torah and seeing the diagram, the blueprint of the world, able to see what is happening wherever they may be. It speaks about the Baal Shem Tov was able to do that. The Ar Tzadikim were actually able to look into Torah and then to know, to be able to solve all the questions that were brought to them, because the light of this, of the creation of the world is incorporated in the Torah. And then you also have it, that it is the lights of Hanukkah. You also have the lights of Mashiach. So this is all a part of the menorah. We also have the different numbers 22, corresponding what is 22. The Aleph base has 22 letters. S, Aleph, Taf is 22. We also have the 9 flowers correspond to the 9 times it says, the creation of the world, it says, Vayemer Elokim, says so 9 times. So that is the 9. The 11 are there are 10 utterances. So what is the 10th one? The 10th one is Bereshis. That includes all of creation. So this is also when we have the number 11. So the 11 corresponds to the Aseret Adibris and Bereshis, which incorporates also the whole world. Number 42. So number 42 is the 42 stops that, in this week's parasha, we're going to have the 42 stops, that stops of elevation that bring us to a certain level that every Jew goes through his lifetime. He has these 42 stations where he has the choice of what is going to come from that specific resting. And then we also have 42 is also a number of elevation. In the prayer of Anu B'Koyach, you're familiar with Anu B'Koyach? We have that. Anu B'Koyach is what we say before L'Chadodi. That's Anu B'Koyach. That is a Kabbalistic works by Rabbi Nachman ben Akana, was one of the sages of the Mishnah. He was a Kabbalist, and it was 42 words are parts of Hashem's name that consists of 42. And this is a name of elevation. So therefore, we say this during to elevate all of our works of the days of the week. We also say it before we retire. It's there as well to elevate everything that we have achieved through the day. And then also in the beginning of the day, the preliminary service, we also have one of the koyach to give us this grant that we should be able to elevate everything that we're dealing with. So also number 42 is also a number that is connected to Kabbalah's oil. Kabbalah's oil means taking upon oneself to fulfill Hashem's will as a given that is going to happen. So we have that in Shema. We have 42 words, Yohavta, so that consists of 42 words, which is the idea of Kabbalah's oil. So adding the 42 of the ornaments of the menorah with the 7 arms of the menorah gives us 49. This corresponds to the 49 levels of the gateways that we've been doing, that we do between Pesach and Shavuos, the 49 steps that we do. So that is reaching 50th when it comes to Shavuos. So 49 are we have the 42 ornaments plus the 7 arms. 7 and 42 is 49. Corresponding to the 49 gates of wisdom. But
It's also like a sphere, kind of. It's also like a sphere.
yeah. But that was achieved by the lighting of the menorah on a daily basis. So, so this is something that each Jew becomes like a menorah and illuminates the world. There's a beautiful medrash that, do you know that there's a star named after you? Did you ever buy a star? Okay, there is. The medrash tells us, Hallelu kol chachmei oil. We say in our preliminary davening that all stars that shine praise Hashem. So the medrash says that every Jew has a star. And according to their conduct, that is how the star shines. The greater you achieve, the brighter your star. That star is not only, it does have an effect on the whole Seder Ishtalshus, the whole universe, because if it wasn't needed there, it wouldn't be there. So everything that is in the heavens has a special purpose. Without it, things would not be the same here on earth. So therefore, every Jew does have a star and is affected by how they conduct themselves. That's what it says about Sarah, that when she went to Mitzrayim, she came out of Mitzrayim, she was able to achieve a greater shine in the sun. That was her achievement, that the sun was shining more brightly because of Sarah's avodah. This is also a specialty about Sarah, that when she did the Shabbos, the lights for Shabbos, it lasted an entire week, which Rivka was able to achieve. Abraham was not able to achieve after the passing of Sarah. That it was a normal light, as much oil as they put in, that's how much. So let's now continue. Now, when you are making a menorah, you can never make it out of fragments of broken vessels. Whether it was made of gold, now you want to melt the gold, and now you want to make it into one solid mass, but since originally it was of other vessels, it is no longer valid to be used for the Beis HaMikdosh. If it was made of other metals also, once it was of a vessel, you cannot now redo the vessel and make it into a menorah. Now we said if it's made of gold, it was a talent. However, the Melkachayim, the tongues, the maftos, the scoops, ash, the shemen, containers for the oil. It was made of gold, but it was not included in the talents. First, it describes what the menorah should be made of. It should be made of pure gold. Then it spoke about the wicks, tongues, and the ash scoops, and the also made of gold, which means separately. The Neman says when it comes to the lamps, it does not say it was made of pure gold because they were affixed to the menorah. They were included in the klala hakika. There are two opinions. If the lamps, where they actually were fixed to the menorah, was it a part of the menorah, permanent part of the menorah, or were they portable and they were just inserted into the menorah? Two opinions about it. The Rambam takes the opinion that it was a part of the menorah itself. Number 7, Shivas Knei HaMenorah Makom Zeh Zeh, the 7 branches of the menorah. If they are absent, they invalidate the menorah. Shivas Knei HaSeh Makom Zeh Zeh. Also, the lamps, if one of the lamps were not there, also invalidated. Ben Shaish Shel Zov, Ben Shaish Shel Shamim Matafis, whether it's made of gold or any other metal, because it has to be 7. It's either 7 or nothing. You don't say, well, 6 will be enough. Now it's either 7 or nothing. It had to be all complete. So you cannot leave at it, because if you would have only 6, one segment of the Jewish people would not be included. So you're lighting a menorah, you're leaving out a part of Klal Yisrael. So everyone in Klal Yisrael has to be included. And when the menorah is lit, everyone has a share in that. And the lamps were permanently affixed to the branches. And then the Rambam tells us the lamps that were fixed in the 6 branches. They were all facing towards the center, and where the center light, where it was its wick, it was facing the Holy of Holies. That was called the Western lamp, because that was the one where the wick was towards the west. Okay, then the Rambam now will describe what the goblets look like. So the goblets looked like Alexandrian chalices. So they had they came to like a V shape. That was the goblets. They had wide mouths and narrow bases. The bowls were the apples of Koros, which is slightly elongated, looks like an egg. That's why you rather say they were like the apples rather than an egg, because the egg the 2 ends of a chicken are not exactly the same. One is a little pointy, one is a little round, but these bulbs were rounded on both sides equally, not like an egg, but it was egg-shaped but more like the apples that had that special form. Flowers resembled the flowers of columns. They were shaped like bowls with the edges bent over outward, and all of these diagrams do not show the flowers with as the Rambam describes it, that it should have like bowls with the edges bent outward. Okay. And now we actually had gone through, when we looked at the diagram, we've done this already, number 10. We were going through where each ornament was. So it's, and we'll conclude with this. 11. There was a stone, and it had 3 steps. The kohen would stand and he would kindle the lamps. And also when he had to put down the containers of oil, tongues, and ash scoops, where did he place them? When he was working, he was the only one who did this. He came in with the container of oil, came with the scoop, came in with the container of ashes in. So when he was working with the wicks, he had to put all the vessels somewhere. So they did not put them on the floor. That would be the alternative would be to put it on the floor. So they did not put it on the floor, but rather it was placed on the step of that stone where he would place the vessels that he was going to be using to fix the menorah. So this was something that Cohen was done. We're going to be learning that was done through lottery. Who was going to do which service for that day? So we will start. So this is the menorah, and next will be the shulchan, the table. Okay. So, any questions? Do you know this information from before from other classes?
Not in such detail. Not in such detail.
Okay.
I'm sure I learned in Brazil in my
Yes.
class. I don't remember. It's good to review.